Yo guys, welcome back to Undefeated Locals. It's your boy Marvin, and today I am here to talk to you about the deck that I will be playing for the UniVersus 2025 World Championship happening just a couple days from now. Here in about 3 hours now, I will be flying out to Dallas to play in this event, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the deck and the character that I've chosen to pilot, Ryu World Warrior. We'll get into like some of the specifics of the deck here in a second, but for those that may not be in the know, Ryu World Warrior is a 6-hand, 32 health character. He has Enhanced Tenacious. Your non-tech, non-weapon attack gets +2 damage. I will tell you right off the bat, I'm not running any weapon or tech attacks, so all of these attacks on the deck will receive that +2 damage. And then we have Response Commit. After an attack is completely blocked, draw 3 cards. Add 1 from your hand to the top of your deck. Very crazy ability. As soon as you've blocked a move or your opponent has blocked a move, you become an 8-hander that has also just solved their check for their next play, whether that be an attack or something that you're blocking. Stack of 6, pass your check with ease is a really good ability to have on top of just being an 8-hander for the turn, which is an absolutely insane ability to have. We have the all fire and void symbol, and we will be focused around the void symbol as our primary symbol, but picking up some sick attuned cards along the way for all and fire. Let's get right into the deck. We have 65 cards in our main board. These are the exact 65 cards that we'll be playing starting Friday for day 1. I am a day 1 player. I got around 60 points and stopped trying. Want to play as much UniVersus as possible, and we'll see if we can get through all 3 days with the World Warrior himself. We'll get right into the attacks here, guys. As you can see, I'm a big fan of consistency. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, all the way down the line. I really just want to play the good ones and find them consistently, and that's the entire idea behind the deck and all of the cards in it. As you can kind of tell, we're focused around the punch keyword. All of these attacks will share that same keyword to pair for our final move here in Repeated Smash, but we'll kind of get into every single one of these and show you what's going on. First up, we have Heat Tackle here. Heat Tackle is a 5 diff, +2 low block, 3 high for 6. Tension, so you get that Roman cancel, free momentum, and it has response, card pull, seal this card. After your rival plays an ability that adds any number of cards to their hand, cancel it. This ability is absolutely insane. This cancels character abilities like Deku 6. Anytime he tries to flash you, we just get to cancel it. He does not set our thing to 0. He does not draw a card. Cancels Mikasa's Enhance to draw 2 with that 5-hander. And cancels just any numerous amount of foundations as well. At its worst, this is canceling like your opponent's 2-diff foundation. Even something like Aaron Sidestep, because Aaron Sidestep will eventually draw a card, so you can cancel that future draw as well. Cancel that -2 speed. There is a lot of nuance to this ability that people I don't think have really kind of dug into. And again, that's like the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, you're canceling your rival's 1, 2, or 3 diff. Best case, you're canceling their entire character, which is absolutely crazy. Very good card. Roman cancels are also just so premium right now. When they were first revealed, I thought it was like pretty okay, but I was not a knower yet. I did not look into the ability. But Roman cancel yellow to set their damage to 3, purple to clear your blocked attack and draw a card. Both absolutely crazy abilities. And then even things like blue to freeze a rival foundation. That one comes in clutch so often. And so just on a 5 diff, you have the access to every single one of those abilities is pretty crazy. Next up in the attacks, we have Rising Uppercut, one of my favorite cards ever printed in UniVersus, to be honest. I could talk about the Street Fighter decks in an entire video, to be honest. I could yap about those decks alone for 40 plus minutes, but we're going to try to stick to the deck today. Rising Uppercut is a 4 diff, 4 high for 4, +0 high block, super choice high block. Has a static. When you try to block a non-ranged high attack with this card, reduce that attack speed to 4. That is the primary reason that we're playing this card. An absolutely insane effect on an attack with a +0 high block. There, things like Ice Sword Execution that Rodens are slinging. These moves are like 10 high for 10. You set that back down to 4, block it with your +0, and then you have Response Drive 1, which is either spend 1 momentum or commit 1 foundation. after you completely block an attack with this card, try to play this card as an attack after that attack resolves. So not only is this a block trick that messes with your rival's speed, but you also just get to hit them in the face with it after that, which is absolutely insane. In Ryu, this is a 4 high for 6. Paired with other cards, sometimes this is like a 7 high for 9 on their turn. And on our turn, it's just an attack, right? It's fine. It's a move that we can play in between all of our good ones into our big dunk move in repeated smash. Has the punch keyword, and again, at the base level is a 4 high for 6. So it's worth having like a sort of blank attack on your turn to have such a good effect on your rival's turn. Very, very good card, and like I said, my favorite card in UniVersus right now. Heading into more of the attacks, we have the classic Rejuvenating Smash. Everybody should know what this card does, but for, again, any new people out there, I'm going to explain it to you. 5 diff, +1 mid block, 4 mid for 6. This guy has EX3 on it. It says response, after you play this card, if it is the second card you have played this turn, draw 2 cards and gain 2 health. So as long as this is exactly the second card you've played during a turn, you can draw 2, gain 2. Absolutely insane ability offensively and defensively. Refills your hand so you can continue stringing or continue blocking your opponent's attacks, as well as gaining that 2 life is honestly pretty clutch as well. But that's going to be the primary reason that most decks play this card. Most decks that you see this card will be for the response. But our deck kind of turns that on its head. We are actually playing it for its second ability here. Enhance, if you have discarded a card during this enhance step, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. A lot of decks playing this card won't have very many ways to trigger that outside of like a 0 diff that has a flip cost and Botan's coaching. But we're actually playing 8 cards that discard during the enhance step that we'll get into with the foundations that really turns this ability online and kind of turns our entire deck into this like little momentum engine that is amping up towards either like really big rejuvenating smash plays with another foundation in our deck and EX3. This guy can quickly become like unblockable for 11 damage, which is really good. And then this momentum will also feed right into repeated smash, into like drive cost abilities. There, we can do so much with this momentum. So yeah, that's like the primary reason we're playing this card. The response is obviously like a really good bonus, but the enhance is absolutely insane to ramp up our momentum, which is exactly what this deck is doing, is just ramping momentum into like bigger plays on the next couple of turns. Heading into more of our attacks, we've got the little 4 diff that could rewind throttle, 4 diff +3 high block, 5 high for 3. We have enhance, discard 1 card, commit 1 rival foundation. So this is just like really, really good board interaction. There's so many cards, so many characters in the metagame right now, things like Rodon, things like Mark Tyner, that are using their stage as like a premium. Every single card in their stage is like an absolutely insane effect a lot of the time, and you really want to limit how many of those effects your opponent has access to across the turn, and this is exactly how we do that. We're not a deck that is giving much speed, so the fact that this thing starts as a 5 high is like absolutely insane for us, as well as targeting down some of their speed hate, which is really good because we're just trying to sling a lot of moves for, you know, quite a bit of damage, and just whole basis is like they can't block all of them, right? Like we don't need speed, we can use the damage, we can use all these moves, but this guy kind of helps solve some of the issues that that type of game plan could have. And then we have enhance, if you discarded a card during this attack, draw 1 card. The really cool part about this attack, I am a really big believer in having attacks that like can work in multiple areas of the game, do multiple things. Like even as a poke where you don't necessarily have to commit your rival's foundations too much, if we're just going to be building and passing and they get to ready it anyway. Sometimes that top enhance is actually like not played at all during a turn. What I actually end up doing is I'll play this on a 4, and then before any of the effects, I'll use something like Botan's coaching to discard 1 card, draw 1 card, and then use the bottom enhance to actually go +1 in hand size, and then like build 4 and pass. If they block us, we're actually like +3 in hand size from this card. You absolutely do not have to use the top enhance. You can play this as a poke, send this as a 5 high for 5. It takes so many resources, and like our deck can, like our rival will know that our deck can get there, right? We can send like 20, 30 damage early. So a lot of the time they're not even allowed to attempt to block this attack, so they'll take like the 5 damage, which is also a free momentum into like our momentum ramp deck, which is really, really good. This is not only like a really good poke attack, but it's also like the best start to a string to take out their best piece in stage, completely like blow up their board, and then go in. Last but certainly not least, we have our finishing move of sorts. We have repeated 100% smash, 5 diff, plus 2 low block, 4 high for 6. We have EX3, powerful 3 printed on this guy. And we have enhance, ready 1 foundation that has not been readied during this combat phase for each punch in your card pool. Absolutely insane. What a crazy ability. We're generally playing this on like an 8 or a 9 as our like 5th, 6th attack, and then readying 5, 6 foundations to play a second one that does the same thing. Really easy to like commit half of your stage for one, half of your stage for the other, and have your entire stage ready by the end of both of these attacks is pretty crazy. And then that we will get into enhance. If this attack's damage is 10 or more, checks cannot be modified for the rest of this turn. This one comes in handy a lot more than you'd think because this thing stops like breaker and stuff. So this event should be open deckless. So if my rival is playing things like barrier shield and whatnot, sometimes I'll actually start a string with this attack using some of my foundations and my character ability to immediately make it for 10 without even needing to use powerful. Make it for 10, name this enhance. That way I know I'm safe from things like barrier. Nothing will like end my turn. Also really good into things like Mark Tyner. Mark Tyner is a very popular character that is trying to hack checks and end turns. You can just play this move on a 5. If we check a 5, his check hack can't even hurt us that much the first time, because it'll commit 2 and then ready one of them, because this is still a punch attack in your card pool. It does count itself. So this thing is always a fortive. And yeah, so this bottom enhance is really choice sometimes. The primary reason we're running this card, though, is it does have EX3 and Powerful 3 printed on it. So the other enhances become like a bonus of this card. We're really just trying to use this as a dunk move for the most part. It's also, again, I'll mention this a million times in this video, I'm a huge fan of cards being playable in every stage of the game. I do not like cards that are like, I have to play this on exactly turn 4 or it does nothing. I'm not really into the cards like that. I have to play this as like my third move or whatever. You certainly do not have to play this as your dunk move. It just supports it. This card is also just a 4 diff, 4 high for 6. That is absolutely insane stats. And the ready one can come in clutch. If you check a 5, so like you play this on a 5, check a 5, and then you have something like Rifle Arm in your stage, you can commit that, give it plus 3 speed, and then use the top enhance to ready it. So now this is a 7 high for 8 in our character. That happens so much. Another play is like your opponent goes to 1 card in hand, you 3 Eyes of Hiei, change the zone, and just kind of chump them for like 8 damage. Also like a super good move. So yeah, this card is good everywhere. Its primary use in our deck is definitely like as a finisher. We'll send this thing for like 30 damage, but definitely usable elsewhere, which is really cool. And that'll do it for the attacks, guys. As you can see, we're a pretty like aggressive deck. We do have less attacks than you would normally think. We're at 65 and 20 attacks. The average is usually going to be like 33% attack ratios for the most part in this game. We're playing like something like 29 or 30%, so not too far off. And the reason for that is that we're drawing a million cards, right? We have reuse enhance to draw us 3 off the top of our deck. Rewind throttle to filter us 1 or just natively draw us 1 if we have the right combination of cards in our stage, and then rejuvenating smash to draw us an additional 2 cards. So we're often going plus 5 hand size in this deck very easily. Yeah, it's so easy to become like plus 5 hand size, like, and just kind of go from there. Gives you really good pivot turns, which is one of my favorite things to do in the game is like draw a bunch of cards and then see where you want your turn to go. You're never like really locked into a line with this deck, but again, it is definitely like natively pretty aggressive. You're trying to end the game on like turn 3 or turn 4, and collect a bunch of momentum in your early turns, and just kind of turn 3, turn 4, you have 4 or 5 momentum, and just kind of go for it from there. Using things like rewind, rising uppercut to punish your rival on their turn as well. Rising uppercut is like insane across a turn if it hits, because like it was a block trick, you played it as an attack, and then if they take it, not only was it a momentum, but it's also just like 6 damage off the top of their health total, which is absolutely insane. So being able to fight your opponent on both their turn and your turn makes this deck you're kind of allowed to be like a little bit more defensive, and impactful on their turn to then have less difficult time to end the game on your next turn. And yeah, you're just kind of building up. We're like a little mini ramp deck, ramping momentum, ramping cards in hand for like a pretty big finish. So yeah, now that we've gotten through the attacks, I've yapped enough about those. We will get into the assets and the actions. First up, a single asset in the main board, we have Military Airship. Everybody should know what this guy is. 3 diff, +2 high block, unique, enhance, commit, freeze this card as a cost, add 1 card from your card pool to your hand. It's like a really, really good card. This card should be played pretty much everywhere. I can't really think of a deck that doesn't want a card back in their hand. You can use it offensively and defensively to add blocks back to your hand, add attacks back to your hand that you were forced to block with that you did want back for your turn, and also, like, play Heat Tackle, play Rejuvenating Smash, add Heat Tackle back to your hand, ramp 2 momentum with the 1 attack, 3 momentum with Rejuvenating Smash is pretty insane. My favorite combo to do with this card is actually use it defensively after you've blocked with Rising Uppercut. The block with Rising Uppercut, play it as an attack, hit him for 6. If they dare play another move, pick it back up, block that one, hit him for an additional 6. So sick. If they let it go through the first time, they're probably going to let it go through the second time, and you can kind of chunk them for 12 with Military Airship, which is pretty sick. And then we get into our actions. Just 4 copies of the 1 action Barrier Shield, our best defensive piece in the deck by far. 2 diff, +2 high block. This guy says this card does not count towards progressive difficulty as a static, which is pretty good, comes in handy a lot of the time. And then enhance, remove, reduce this attack speed to 0. The next card you play this turn gains Breaker 2. I've honestly never used the second enhance on this card, which is your rival cannot add cards to their hand during this attack due to their non-character effects. That can come in pretty clutch sometimes. I've used it in other decks, but I've just never had it come up in like over 200 games played in this format. But, maybe I'll resolve it this weekend at some point. But this is definitely more for the Breaker 2. We're pretty good at blocking, don't get me wrong. We're blocking like 2, 3, maybe 4 moves in a turn sometimes because of how many cards that we see, how many cards we draw into, and how big of a stage that we can build to facilitate those blocks. But we're not trying to block a lot. What we're actually trying to do is like really punish our rival for like playing the game and like try to like impact their turn enough to like end it early. So like things like Breaker, combined with another foundation on our deck that we'll get into, we can sometimes get to like Breaker 4, Breaker 5, as well as just simply playing Rising Uppercut as an attack. Against like lower health characters, or like if they're in like a bad position, they may be convinced or even feel forced to block Rising Uppercut. And if they have to expend resources, not only is that a card in pool, but they also have to make a check and like pass that check to block. So that can like kind of interrupt the turn a lot. Any way to commit resources on your rival's turn is like really good in UniVersus, and that's exactly what these cards are trying to pair with each other to do, is just have impactful blocking. Maybe not as much blocking as like things like Rodan on this same symbol. Rodan will block like 15 attacks in a turn. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a little bit more aggressive than Rodan, but really punish our rival for attempting to play a second card in a turn. And that's it for the assets and actions. I really want to. I don't like what I consider like bricks index. I don't like a ton of like brick cards. And assets and actions definitely a lot of the time feel like bricks. You can draw into dead hands when you have multiple of them in your deck, which can feel really bad because these cards do not commit to pass checks, right? They do not attack your opponent. They don't do a lot. They're very impactful, obviously, of course. Barrier Shield is absolutely insane. That's why we have it as a 4 of. But that's why things like Genkai's Guidance, things like Cape of No Return kind of got cut a while ago in the process, because we really just wanted to slim down the deck, make it as consistent as possible with as few bricks as possible, which is what we'll kind of show in the foundations. We have 40 foundations. 40 of our 65 cards are foundations. I love foundations. I love foundations even more that have text. A couple of things that you'll see right off the bat is that we're on a pretty lower spam count than a lot of people. Out of 65 cards, only 18 of our cards are 1 or 0 diff foundations, just because, again, our character is just like really good at UniVersus, right? A lot of people are saying this, like Ryu plays UniVersus like maybe the best out of any of the characters in the standard format right now, but he's not like very flashy. He doesn't do much on top of that. what he does is add a bunch of cards to your hand. And when you add a bunch of cards to your hand, you want those, if that's your only text, right? If that's like your main ability, you want the cards in hand to be very good cards. You want those cards to have a lot of text, to have a lot of impact, which is exactly the design philosophy that I put behind this deck. Is if I'm drawing 3 cards, I want them to be 3 of the best cards in the format. I really want them to help my game plan. I want them to facilitate me surviving my rival's next turn and ending the game on my next turn. And yeah, so that's why a lot of these are higher difficulty foundations, because the higher difficulty ones tend to have better text. We will get right into the foundations here, starting with Scales of Juno. This guy is a brand new 1-diff, +3 low block, response flip. After your rival plays a non-character ability that causes a card to leave their card pool, cancel it. This guy is mostly for the Mikasa 4 matchup. Mikasa, Hizaru's Hope, the 5-hander, has started playing these crazy moves that all clear from her card pool. Things like Dual Needle Lunge and Focus Gravity Beam. There's another mid that I can't remember the name of. So many cards that are clearing our card pool, and we just want that to not happen to us. This Mikasa is a character that can genuinely, just like Pony, do like 14 or 15 attacks in a turn. I'm not even kidding. It's absolutely insane, and you want to stop that as much as possible, have as much interaction as possible. If they are ever playing on like +1 or +2 progressive, then the deck gets a lot worse off, because they're also blowing up their foundations to their character ability. So it can be really taxing on their stage to even have to deal with like 1 card in their card pool. So really good effect, and it cancels a lot of things in the format right now. Things like Military Airship, this stops. Cape of No Return, it stops in a funny way. Sensisho stops in that same funny way. A lot of relevant things that you would not normally think, oh yeah, this causes a card to leave my opponent's card pool. Even things like Desperate Plea, the 1/4 build their block, cancel that. They don't get to do that. Absolutely insane for a spam foundation. And like just a good piece of technology for Mikasa. Next up, we have one of my favorite foundations in the game, Fateful Decision, another 1-diff, +3 mid block. This guy says Enhanced Commit. This attack gets -2 speed. I use this hand a lot. This is just a perfectly good rate for a 1-diff. 1-diff commit cost for -2 speed is like nothing. Very good effect. Sorry, but the primary reason for playing this is the enhanced commit. After you play a block, it gains Breaker 2, or Breaker 1 rather. So we're going to pair this with our Breaker 2 Barrier Shield, creating like Breaker 3, Breaker 4, even up to like Breaker 5 or 6 situations if we have all 4 of them built into our stage. Absolutely insane. Breaker 2, your opponent can often like honestly like play around. They can either play like a 1 or a 0-diff foundation and then just keep going from there, or they have a better stage built up that they'll just like play their 4-diff on a 5, and even if they check a 1, they'll just commit 4 for it and then just still kill you through it. So sometimes just resolving Barrier Shield is not enough. You need that extra oomph, which is exactly why I added Fateful Decision to the deck. A lot of my testing with like Mikasa would like result in them playing an attack, playing a foundation, playing another to clear the breaker, playing another attack, using Forcing Surrender to clear the foundation. I do not want to have them benefit from doing those plays. So I really wanted something that even if they played something on a 1, they might actually have to like commit some foundations for that, and then they are way less inclined to keep attacking into me, which is exactly what I want my rival to do, stop attacking me. So yeah, this guy has just been an absolute all-star of a foundation for that 1-diff slot. Next up, we have Capture the Target, another 1-diff. We're going to get all of these out of the way right off the rip, I guess. +3 low block. This guy says, enhance once per turn Tenacious. If you have 3 or more attacks in your card pool, ready this foundation. For our string deck, this is an absolutely insane card. It doesn't flip itself. It's only once per turn, so you get to use it across several turns, which is exactly what our deck is trying to do. Pretty much outside of like turn 2, every turn of the game, we are trying to play 3+ attack cards, because we're going to go attack, Rejuvenating Smash, and then something to follow up with a Rejuvenating Smash. That's like our optimal line. That's like the primary thing we're searching for. And then maybe even more if we kind of see like blood in the water, we can maybe get a kill there. The Capture the Target is going to be used across several turns in the game. 1-2 copies of this card will actually end up being like 7 or 8 foundations across that single game. And then it pairs really nicely with Repeated Smash, because Repeated Smash says, ready X cards that have not been readied this turn. You can go repeated, ready, capture the target, and then play an additional attack, and then use capture the target's effect to ready itself. So each copy of capture the target will often be readied twice during that turn, which again, just so sick. Next up, we have genuinely the best card in the deck. I don't think it's close. We have Sacrifice to the Cause, 3 difficulty, plus 3 high block. This guy says enhance, discard 1 card. This attack gets plus X damage. X equals the block modifier of the discarded card. Absolutely insane effect for Ryu. As I said earlier, we're genuinely going plus 5 hand size so often across the game. And what are you going to do with those cards if we aren't going to build them, if we're not trying to build up a stage? We're going to discard them to give our attacks 1,000,000 damage. This guy makes like our attacks base damage like 8. Generally, it's like 11 damage base for our moves if we're using Sacrifice for the Cause, because almost all of our block mods are plus 3s unless there are attack cards. So yeah, an absolutely insane ender of a game. And then, as I was saying, this is the card that pairs perfectly with Rejuvenating Smash. Having Void and Fire for this deadly combo genuinely feels unfair. It's so crazy. Being able to use Rejuvenating Smash, discard it with Sacrifice of the Cause, make it for 11 now, take a Momentum, EX3 if you want to. Now this is a 7 mid for 11. What is your opponent going to do about that? And yeah, you just get this on every move. And then the response, Sacrifice, after your rival plays an ability that would reduce the damage of an attack, cancel it. Also an insane effect. This cancels characters, so this will cancel things like Sung Jin Woo, very playable right now with his little backup skill tree. Cancels that ability. Cancels so many character abilities that I can't even name. Sung Jin Woo is just like the most meta-relevant one that immediately comes to my mind. And then it cancels things like Moment of Normalcy. They do not get to Moment of Normalcy you. Even if they're trying to reset the speed, they don't get to do that because it could have reduced the damage, so it would have reduced the damage is how the game sees it. And you can cancel those as well. So yeah, and you can just like kind of lock your opponent out of some answers. So if you, it should be open deck list for this weekend. So if I notice that my opponent is playing things like Referee Jury, what I'll do is I'll actually use the Enhance on Sacrifice of the Cause as my first enhance of the turn. That way I'm never locked out of like, oh, do I want to respond and cancel their damage reduction, or do I want to be able to enhance and give it an additional plus 3? You can kind of just bait yourself out of like walking into those plays by simply discard a card, it gets plus 3 as my very first enhance, and then you can just kind of go on with your enhance step, and if they ever then try to reduce it, then you can be like, no, cancel it, and now you're at the maximum damage that you could have given that attack. Next up, another Spam Foundation. We got Botan's Coaching. Everybody knows Botan's Coaching. 0 diff, plus 3 mid block. Enhanced flip. Both players discard 1 card and draw 1 card. Just like a really solid effect. Lets us filter more of our cards, which is like the entire thing that we want to be doing. I want to see every single card in my deck. I want to draw every single card in my deck. Botan's Coaching helps me do that. Its worst case scenario is we have not built Sacrifice of the Cause, so we flip it on Rejuvenating Smash to take a momentum. Its best case scenario is just, it's going to find us more attack cards, which is like super good for a 0 diff. You can even do some pretty greedy lines early in the game where you can like draw 3 with Ryu, stack 1, and then build your entire hand. And if it's like double Botan's Coaching, you can just build like your entire hand, build like 10 or 11 foundations on turn 2, and then just flip Botan's Coaching for the +1 card. You can pair it with like things like 3 Eyes of Hiei to like force that +1 card to be like a complete block. So a lot of different plays that you can make with this little 0 diff. Next up, we have Battle Holds the Answer. Again, big fan of the Street Fighter decks, and this card is no different. 2 diff plus 3 mid block, checks a 6, which is probably the best text on this card. But we have Enhanced Tenacious, your turn, add this card to the top of your deck. Super sick for you. Even if we just draw into this card, we just stack it with our response and guarantee the 6 check. But even better yet, if we've built it into our stage, we can go like attack, stack this, play repeated on a 7, check a 6, ready everything that we've committed during the last 3 attacks. Absolutely so sick. really helps just continue our string. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is play every card that allows us to extend our strings. Because like I said, we're trying to play 3, 4, sometimes 5 attacks in a turn, because that's what you have to do with Ryu. You just have to play a bunch of moves or a bunch of damage, and eventually they're just going to run out of blocks. This helps that strategy a lot, paired with things like capture the target and repeated smashes. Enhance your readying and checking really well. If you have this in your stage plus Ryu's response, you get to solve 2 of your checks guaranteed, which feels really impactful in a game that is kind of dependent on the top card of your deck a lot of the time. Next up, we have Rifle Arm. 2 diff, +3 low block. Enhance, commit. This attack gets +2 or -2 speed. If this is the only attack in its owner's card pool, it gets +3 or -3 speed instead. Really good card. Again, another one of those cards that's going to be good in multiple stages of the game. Even +2 or -2 speed is more than enough at 2 diff that like is repeatable, right? We don't lose this card, we don't flip it, we don't destroy it. So that commit cost for +2, -2 speed across a game is really impactful. And then if it happens to be the only card in their deck, we can, on their very first attack, give it -3 speed. Or, like I was kind of commenting earlier, you can play repeated smash, give it +3 speed, ready it with repeated smash, and then do it on your opponent's turn. So instead of our deck in particular, this is a 2 diff that gives our attack +3 speed and their first attack -3 speed a lot of the time, which is, yeah, way more impactful enough for this slot. Super good plays, and then throughout a turn, you can do this multiple times on your turn because of repeated smash. You can give your first attack +3 speed, and then like 2 attacks later, play repeated smash, ready it, give repeated smash +2 speed. So a lot can be done with this guy. Next up, we have Disarming Glance, another piece of technology for the Mikasa matchup. We have 2 diff, +3 low block, response flip. After an attack is played, players cannot play abilities that add cards to their hand until after it resolves. This has been errated to say that cannot play abilities that add cards to their hand during this attack. That way there's no weird shenanigans with like the attack never resolving. But either way, it does exactly what we want to in the matchups that we want it for, primarily stopping Mikasa from using her character effect. As soon as they play their first attack, we're just always going to flip this guy if it's in our stage. This does one of 2 things. Either A, the 5-hander only drew 1 card, which is, to be honest, what we're hoping for. If they only drew 1 attack, then they just get to build and pass, and like their entire turn has basically been skipped because of them being a 5-hander, which feels like that is this card at its best, is just skipping their turn. But even if it forces them to play a second attack, that is often good enough. A lot of the times these Mikasa decks they're never trying to turn to you, really. That's not their goal. They will turn to you, they can turn to you, but that's not the goal. That's not what they're trying to do. A lot of these Mikasa decks are simply trying to build to like 9, 10 foundations and kill you on turn 3. So on turn 2, if you force them to play a second move that they may not have played beforehand, that can actually solve a lot of issues for you on future turns, where now they have less attacks to draw into, and they were forced to like make bad decisions. Maybe they commit out because they had to play a second move. Maybe they check bad. And so yeah, forcing your rival to do more is always a good thing in this game. So even at its worst, this will make them play a couple of attacks. And then this guy paired with Heat Tackle is absolutely atrocious. Disarming Glance, their first move, block it with Heat Tackle, and then Heat Tackle, their second enhance, is absolutely crazy. So a lot of the time you end up forcing them to play 3+ attacks before they ever actually get to resolve their character ability, which is exactly what we want to do. And then this card is just generically good against a lot of stuff in the format right now. A million things are trying to draw cards. Walk the Dog exists. You can always flip this against Walk the Dog and feel fine about it. So, yeah, really cool piece of technology for certain matchups, and I genuinely do think it's very good across like the entire metagame right now. Next up, we have Hacker Extraordinaire, another 2 diff +4 block mod this time. So this guy gets discarded for 4 damage as sacrifice to the cause. This guy says response commit after you take 5 or more damage, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. This is super good for us. We have 32 life, and we will spend it on Hacker Extraordinaire. If you try to hit me early for 5 damage, I am very likely to take this and take my free momentum. The only thing that's going to like change that for you if you decide to play this deck is if you have Rising Uppercut, maybe we'll full block with Rising Uppercut and force them to take 6 and still give us some momentum. But other than that, yeah, you're going to spam so much momentum with this. This is just a mini momentum engine in of itself. Really lets us ramp into future turns pretty early, honestly. If you have 2 of these on the board and your rival hits you for 5, yeah, starting your turn 2 with 2 momentum is genuinely just so good in our deck because of how many proactive momentum outs we have. And then its other enhance is also very good. Once per turn, Tenacious, discard 1 momentum, draw 1 card, you may flip 1 rival asset. So in of itself, it's gaining a momentum, and it's also a very good momentum out. +1 hand size is always a good thing. That's exactly what I'm trying to do in this game. I love drawing cards. That's all I want to do in UniVersus. And it also is asset hate on top of that. This is like a really good out for Heat Tackle. If you play Heat Tackle as like your first attack for the game, and you don't really see a good way of getting a second momentum to where you're going to be able to like use the Roman cancel in any impactful way, you can actually just Heat Tackle, Tension, and then as your very first enhance, just Hacker and go +1 hand size, which is like really good. Just see more cards with that Roman cancel is a fine enough ability for that. Heading into the last few, we have another tech piece here. We have My Fist Solve My Problems, 1 diff +3 mid block. Response flip, after an attack is played, change its speed to 4. This guy is primarily for the Izuku Midoriya on the move deck, the One Punch Man, if you will. They're playing that card called Phantom Threat that they're turning into a flash attack and sending it at you like 30 for 30 and trying not to just completely lose to that. So as long as you set up multiple of these in the stage, you can solve that defensively, and you're already solving that matchup offensively with Heat Tackle because you get to cancel Deku's response entirely with that card, as I mentioned before. You're really just trying to double up on answers to that deck. Offensively, we found our answer in Heat Tackle, but you still want an answer defensively to any of the decks that you expect to see at the World Championship, and I definitely do expect to see Deku. So, he has outs to this, do not get me wrong. He will play several cards that like commit or flip or seal this. So that's why you want multiple in the deck, and you will see some later in our sideboard that also help into that matchup. But I wanted a game 1 answer to him. If it was possible for me to draw into it, I'd like to draw into it game 1, because those matchups can honestly go on for a long time. You do not want to lose game 1 to a Deku. You do not want to spend 40 minutes trying to win the game and end up losing game 1, so this helps that. It's also good into like the City Rampage decks. Walk the Dog is a 6-speed move base, so like even flip, give your Walk the Dog -2 speed is good enough on a 1 diff. Next up, another 2 diff, Killing the Old Ways. 2 diff +3 mid block. This guy just says first form flip, commit 1 rival foundation. Absolutely insane effect. Paired with Rewind Throttle, you can destroy your rival staging area. Just absolutely rip it apart. First form flip, commit their best piece. Second form Rewind Throttle, commit their second best piece. Such a sick line. Yeah, it's just like an answer to a lot of stage presence that your rival might have. Things like Rodan will develop like pretty seemingly unbreakable board states, if you will. And these cards can help that a lot because honestly, a lot of the time, your rival will actually have 1, 2, maybe 3 really impactful pieces that the rest of their stage is kind of like facilitating into. So if you touch those 2 or 3 cards, their entire board might just like kind of break apart by move 2 or 3, which is exactly what we're trying to do, is have our 3rd, 4th, 5th move like kind of finish the game off for us. And this can be really good for that. This card just rewards a lot of patience, I will say. If you flip this on like turn 2, it's not going to do much for you, honestly. You're really never going to kill your rival on that turn. It's possible in this deck. I guess never say never, but it's definitely not optimal. It's not what the deck is designed to do. It's not what we're trying to do. So this card always rewards patience because you really want to be flipping this when you believe that you can end the game on that turn. So flipping their like committing their normalcy on turn 2 when they just get to ready it on their next turn, not really doing a lot. You want to commit a piece that they're never going to get to ready again because you're simply going to end the game before it's allowed to happen. Next up, we have the 3 Eyes of Hiei. This is a pretty uncommon card to see. Not a lot of guys playing this one. 3 diff plus 2 high block, and this guy actually checks a 6. It has been eroded. I'm playing the cool version that already has a 6 in that bottom right corner. And then we have Enhanced Commit. Your rival reveals 1 random card in their hand. Look at the top of both decks. Change the zone of this attack. So this is really just to pair into Rising Uppercut. We have 32 life, and we are planning on using it defensively. We will take hits when we need to, when we want to. But the 3 AZP really guarantees a complete block for us, and turns on Rising Uppercut to fight back the mids and the lows that it doesn't generally work against, which is really good. Making their Walk the Dogs a high and blocking it with a +0 high is super effective, and then hitting them in the face with it, super sick. So yeah, very, very good, just kind of flow piece for the deck. And then it also works offensively with Repeated Smash. Several times across the turn, if they go to like 1 or 2 cards in hand against 3 as a VA, they're probably dead that turn, regardless of what you drew into, as long as you have Repeated Smash. You can go Repeated Smash, 3 as a VA, reveal the 1 card, change the zone, second attack, ready it again, 3 as a VA. Absolutely insane effect offensively as well, because of having Repeated Smash get into ready it. And then the last couple are some 1-ofs here. We have Moment of Normalcy. Everybody knows this guy. 2 diff, +3 high block, unique. Enhanced Commit. Return this attack's speed or damage to printed. So really just like a really universal reset. Saves our life a lot of the time, honestly. Their move will be lethal and will reset the damage. It also helps early against Rodan on like some poke turns, where Rodan's pokes are often like 10 speed attacks. You can set it to printed, full block it, and not feel like you've like lost a ton of value that turn. They either have to build and pass and be okay with like not collecting momentum, not getting damage, or you force the defensive character to play a second attack if they really want the damage dealt, and that feels pretty good as well. And then last but not least, we have Masho Concealment. If it loads here. There we go. 2 div, +3 mid block, response commit. After your rival plays an enhanced ability on a foundation, cancel it. We're not going to use any of the other text on this card outside of unique, I guess, but even that won't be relevant since it's only a 1-of. This guy's just really good. Cancels so many pesky things. It cancels Moment of Normalcy, like I just mentioned. Cancels so many things in the format. Aaron sidestep, stuff like that. I was actually watching one of my good friends, my homie Zach Richard. Shout out Zach Richard over at Final Round Games. He's also playing Ryu World Warrior. And I actually watched some of his team testing, and he was playing Masho Concealment. So I did a lot of studying of like their games, seeing like kind of writing down what it was hitting, where it was most impactful. And, you know, I decided that it was good enough to run in my deck. It's definitely canceled a lot of things in my most recent testing. I will say this is the most recent inclusion of the deck. This was added last week at some point after like 200 plus games with the deck. I wanted to cut a 0-diff foundation that I thought was pretty bad, and I wanted to get a little bit more text in my deck, and so I chose Masho Concealment. Very good card. And that's the deck, guys. Yeah, that's the main board. 65 cards, 20 attacks, 5 actions and assets, 40 foundations. And yeah, just like really aggressive. I'm absolutely in love with this character. World Warrior is so much fun to play. You have so much. The agency in the game, again, comes from the cards that you're drawing. It's not necessarily your character. Your character is enabling the agency by the cards that you're drawing. But the real agency is just going to come from what cards you decide to play and how much those do impact your rival on their turn or on your turn. And so yeah, I really like how he plays. I like the philosophy behind the deck and how I've kind of shaped it to fight off a lot of the metagame. You have so many answers. The void symbol in general, I'll yap about this for a minute. Before even choosing Ryu World Warrior, and even before the Street Fighter decks came out, I'd actually pretty much already decided that I was going to play the void symbol in some respect for the World Championship. I had already devised a series of like 3 or 4 characters. Not one was on there. Rodan was obviously on there. A couple others that I was thinking about because I really just liked what the void symbol was doing. I think Repeated Smash is like an absolutely broken card in a lot of decks still. and so really wanted to like utilize like pretty much this attack lineup minus like the first two obviously because they weren't out yet to really kind of win the game. Felt really impactful. Tons of answers on this symbol. And then the Street Fighter deck's released, and I absolutely fell in love with this character. I used to be a huge All Might 3 player back in the day. Back in the day, like 2 years ago. But really liked that character, and this character is much the same. Stats and draw cards, I absolutely love both of those things. And so yeah, that's the idea behind the deck. That's some of the lines that you can make. I wanted to show you guys the physical deck because I have all the shiny cards right next to me, but my lighting wasn't too good today, and I would have played out a couple turns so you guys as well to like really show you. But I think you can get the gist of it. And we'll get right into the sideboard. I do want to show you guys every single card, all 75 that I'm taking to this event. So we'll get right into that. First up, we have Megalomania. We're citing 2 attack cards, both of this one. 5 diff, +1 high block, 5 high for 5. The static doesn't really matter in our deck. I'm not going to read it because we're not sealing cards outside of exactly Megalomania, and we'll never reach 3. But we have Blitz, seal 1 card in your rival stage. Your rival may spend 2 momentum to cancel this effect. Absolutely insane Blitz. This hits anything. This hits assets, this hits backups, foundations, even character cards. That's what a lot of people are focused around right now, is the fact that it can hit a character card, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It hits Rodan. That's like one of the primary reasons I'm even sideboarding it, is I will always sideboard this card into Rodan. Try to stop the speed resets. It hits King Ghidorah. That's been everybody's like meme recently. You can make the 30 health character actually 10 health, which is pretty funny. But all of those are like really niche effects, honestly. What I'm primarily using it for is for things that, like, if I just need a little bit more oomph, right? If killing the old ways and rewind throttle just aren't quite enough, I will be sideboarding extra copies of those cards basically in this card to just seal their piece, whatever that might be. So then I have access to, like, across a turn I can do something about 3 of your pieces in your stage, which feels really good. Yeah, it's like 8 sideboard slots inside a single card. Really, really impactful. Next up, we're citing 2 assets. Again, I'm sideboarding these because I don't want to have bricks in the deck, but genuinely you could mainboard this card right now. Very, very good in the format. 2 diff, +2 mid block, unique. Response sacrifice. After rival plays an ability on an action card or a keyword ability on an attack card, cancel the ability and draw 1 card. Primarily, this is going to be sided in against Cohen Mustask. I think Cohen Mustask Mikasa is like the biggest war crime that I've ever seen since starting to play UniVersus. That is such a crazy combination. How often, how consistently they're resolving that on turn 2 is absolutely heinous, and I do not want them to resolve that card. I do not want them to add 4 cards to their hand and rip 4 attacks out of my deck. You cannot allow that. Honest to God, sometimes that ends the game on the spot, depending on where the board state is at. So I'm really trying to stop them from resolving that ever. And this also just comes up a lot in different matchups as well. Cancel City Rampage, Barrier Shield, Genkai's Guidance. They're a really universal sideboard slot, but as well as just 2 more pieces that will always come in versus Mikasa. And then we get into our foundations, which is where the interesting philosophy kind of comes up, especially with this card. Armorclad Faith, 1 diff, +3 high block. This guy just says, response flip. After your rival plays an attack, it loses 1 keyword ability of your choice. So this is just generically good, right? And this is like one of the only cards that I'm sideboarding that I do not have an immediate, like, I sideboard into this versus this matchup versus this card. That's not really how this card works in our deck. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just going to sideboard this card where it matters, obviously. Like, it's going to come up sometimes. There will be things that we see. Things like Deku, right? This removes Flash off of Phantom Threat, which is really impactful. Or like Powerful off of the Phantom Threat if they try to do the weird thing where they enter the enhanced step and then immediately leave it. You can kind of solo them on both of those fronts. But the main use of this card is actually to sideboard out of things like Scales of Juno or My Fist Solve My Problems in matchups where those don't matter. In matchups where those don't matter, this is just a generically good enough card where it will probably matter in almost every matchup. Almost every deck is playing a keyword ability on an attack, right? EX, Powerful, Throw, Flash, so many tension, so many things that just kind of get removed by this card. So it allows us to take a potentially textless card in game 1 and turn it into a card with text in games 2 and 3. So that's going to be its best use case and why we're citing 3 copies of it. We then go into more technology for the deck matchup. 2 more My Fist Solve My Problems. Like I mentioned before, this matchup definitely does have answers to the answers. They will commit, freeze, seal, flip your foundations, your answers in your stage. So you just want to double, triple up on those. So post board against like the One Punch deck, we will have 4 copies of My Fist Solve My Problems and 3 copies of Armorclad Faith to either try to stop them in the response step, or if they allow us to enter the enhanced step, to like really make sure we have an enhanced step by removing powerful or flash from Phantom Threat with Armorclad. So yeah, this is just more post-board stuff to be able to fight that one particular matchup. And again, get into City Rampage, so these will come into Godzilla, Kristas of the world, things like that. And then our last sideboard slot is just a 4th Disarming Glance. So many matchups where you want to have all 4 or 8 copies of this card with Heat Tackle. Mikasa being enemy number 1 in that regard. And again, just so many decks that are always like your deck is playing a card that draws cards, right? Battle or Release, Walk the Dog, Lethal Slash, like just so many things, so many things. So yeah, I really wanted the 4th copy because the deck is all about consistency. I want to find these pieces versus Mikasa. Couldn't fit it in the main board. We have 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards main boarded, and then 12 post board that kind of fight off that matchup. And that is the entire deck, guys. All 75 cards that I will be playing at the World Championship this weekend. I hope to see you guys there. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the deck, what you might change, or if you're going to try this at locals, or maybe even play it at the World Championship yourself. Feel free. I'd love to see you guys there. I'd love to see more people having fun with the World Warrior. And yeah, I'm very excited to see you guys this weekend. Very excited to get in some Godzilla pre-releases and all of that. And we will catch you next time. Peace.